Using research for human resource management. The importance of rigorous research. Why fund academic research projects? This type of research is sometimes perceived as too theoretical, narrow, or ivory tower to have much practical application. In reality, however, much of your everyday work is influenced by research, even if you have never read a research paper. For example, the widespread use of structured interviews is based on multiple research studies that clearly demonstrate the effectiveness of this practice. Research results are used in multiple ways. Once a study is completed, the findings are published in journals and magazines. Results are presented at professional conferences and used as the basis for writing textbooks. Students studying HR and business rely on these materials to learn about the topic, complete class assignments, and prepare themselves for professional careers. The research is also used to update professional certification exams and to prepare new exam questions. Authors and consultants study research results and incorporate these findings into their everyday reports and presentations. The cumulative effect of multiple research studies is to discover and document what practices work best and under what conditions. In this way, research advances the HR knowledge base, educates practitioners, and ultimately influences the practice of human resource management. An example of how research is used. A survey focusing on virtual team training, value, and effectiveness was sent to 2,500 HR managers who are part of the Society for Human Resource Management members, and 440 responded. Virtual teams are viewed as having the potential to bring together far-flung experts electronically to solve problems more rapidly and less expensively. A survey regarding virtual team effectiveness elicited more than 200 written responses with follow-up interviews to gain insight into knowledge sharing barriers and solutions. Key findings demonstrate that training for virtual teams is crucial. The use of virtual teams is expected to grow. However, 80% of respondents reported that top management does not put a high priority on virtual team training. Over 60% of respondents reported that no specific virtual team training was provided, and only 2% responded that extensive virtual team training was provided. Within the organizations that did provide some training, 70% of respondents rated the training as ineffective or only slightly effective. Another key finding is the quality of team leadership that is very important to establishing team trust and knowledge sharing, as well as communication issues between team members or between leaders and members that detracts from essential and efficient knowledge sharing. Research is also used for the international workforce. In this case, the human resource management in international virtual systems. A virtual work environment, as an example, working from home, is generally less structured than a traditional work environment. To create a successful transition from a traditional to a virtual work environment, employees must believe in their ability to cope with new challenges. This belief in their coping ability can be enhanced by behaviors that create structure, specifically daily activities associated with planning and prioritizing their work. The study method for this was surveys were sent to 2,400 formally registered full-time virtual workers in a large organization. The organization offers a voluntary virtual work program. The surveys examined how virtual work affects organizational and individual level outcomes, such as productivity and job stress. 756 people responded for a response rate of 32%, and of those, 723 were selected who worked at least 1/2 day per week from home. In addition, employees from a number of different countries were surveyed. However, the effects of virtual work were the same and did not seem to be influenced by any cultural differences. One particular work situation did result in some special issues. Call center employees whose clients were in a different country identified additional challenges with identification with customer needs caused by personality and cultural differences. Another way that research is used is for predictability and cost efficiency, increasing the success rate of new executives. Organizations spend a considerable amount of time, money, and effort to transform executives into productive assets. Research has shown that the cost of losing executive talent is high. Identifying factors that help or hinder new executives to get up to speed quickly and remain with the organization is vital to maximizing the effectiveness of executive development. Considering that executive turnover can be costly for companies, 231 new executives of a Fortune 500 company, 66% new hires versus 34% internal transfers, were surveyed pre-entry and at 3 months post-entry. Their supervising senior executives, 75% male, were surveyed at 6 months post-entry. Turnover data were collected for 3.5 years after the beginning of employment. The initial response rate was 73%, and 59% of those were males. Performance, turnover intentions, and actual turnover were measured for the new executives. The key findings for this study were: this and other studies have shown that highly extroverted executives tend to be rated more highly in terms of their performance than relatively less extroverted executives. When new executives who were less extroverted had high-quality relationships with senior executives, their performance was rated more highly by their superiors, and they had a lower incidence of turnover, even when compared to their more extroverted counterparts. Conversely, equivalent high-quality relationships had no noticeable effect on the performance of highly extroverted new executives. In addition, new executives who are male reported having higher quality relationships with colleagues, equating to lower turnover intentions. New executives who were female reported having higher turnover intentions. This is consistent with other research demonstrating a subtle difference in how men and women perceive the work environment at higher levels. It appears that women and younger men may have a harder time forming strong relationships with senior executives and receiving developmental job experiences. To reduce turnover among female executives, senior executives should focus on building stronger working relationships with new female executives and providing appropriate development opportunities. Another way research is used in this area is in talent acquisition selection techniques. For example, research shows that the top 3 selection techniques used to assess executive level candidates were structured interviews at 53%, references at 52%, and one-on-one interviews at 45%. The top 3 selection techniques used to assess middle management level candidates were structured interviews at 65%, knowledge tests at 64%, and phone screenings at 62%. Unfortunately, only 23% of organizations measure quality of hire. 360 feedback scores were a top 5 quality of hire measure only in privately owned for-profit organizations, and promotion rates were a top 5 quality of hire measure only in government agencies. HR professionals cannot rely on salaries as a sole means of recruiting or retaining workers. The Society of Human Resource Management research shows that HR professionals are increasingly using social media to tap into the talent pool and are promoting their organization's benefits offerings as a means of attracting and keeping workers. In addition, using social network analysis, organizations can pinpoint which employees are best at developing strong, trusting relationships, which is a factor critical to success both within teams and between teams. Ultimately, what does research do for us? When considering the introduction of a new methodology or theory in research, it is important to ask this question. What can this new approach help us explain that we are not able to explain before? As we seek to bring new practices into organizations, we must ask a similar question. What can the new approach help us accomplish, and what value does it bring to organizations above and beyond the traditional and already established practices? In conclusion, the results of funded research projects presents an actionable way so HR professionals can apply this knowledge in their organization.